Welcome back. In this section, we are going to look at pointers. This is one of the most favorite topics in the interview section. So we will look at the most tricky and frequently asked interview questions in the pointers. So let's get on with the question. As usual, I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to pause. You can pause the video at that time and then guess your answer and then check the answer. After that, we'll discuss as to how that answer came about. So let's get on with the first question. So we have an integer array of 20 elements, but it's initialized with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we have a pointer which points to the array. And then we have star of ptr plus 3 equal to 7. And we are printing array of 3. So what happens here? When ptr is pointing to the array, it means it's pointing to the address of the first element or the base address of the array. So now you can pause the video and then you can guess your answer. Okay. So now when you look at it, ptr is pointing to the base address of the array. So when you do ptr plus 3 equal to 7, from the base address it moves to 3, which it points to the index 4, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, it jumps to index 4 and it changes the value, or the index 3 gets changed to the value 7. So the 4 will become 7. So now when you print the value, the array of 3 will have a value of 7, right? So this is how it works. Let's get with the second question. What is a dangling pointer? So dangling pointer, this is something which is a very, very important question for the interview. Dangling pointer means the pointer is pointing to an invalid location. So let's look at, we'll go to online GDB. We'll look at a few cases because of which a dangling pointer might happen, right? Let's get on with online GDB. So this is the first case of dangling pointer. We are doing a malloc for some bytes of memory, and you free the pointer. That means that memory is getting freed. If you try to access the pointer now, it's invalid. This is called as a dangling pointer, right? The pointer is no more valid. Usually what needs to be done is after you have done a free, you should point it to null so that the pointer is no more pointing to that location which has been freed. So this is one case. Let's look at the second case now. So let's look at the second case where we have an integer pointer in main and we are passing the pointer to a function, and within that function, right, we make that pointer point to a local variable. Now that local variable is allocated in stack, right? So when you come out of the function, that local variable address is no more valid, but the pointer is pointing to that address, right? So it becomes a dangling pointer at this point of time. So this is case 2, right? So I've just created one more case in which you can understand what a dangling pointer is. Let's look at one more. So let's look at this. We have an integer pointer and I have a new block that has been defined. Within that block, I have a variable ch. And now I'm making that pointer point to that ch and the block is closed. So once this is closed, that ch is no more valid, right? So that pointer is pointing to an invalid location. So the pointer is considered as dangling pointer at this point of time. So these are some 3 cases I've explained to you, which would give you an overview as to what is a dangling pointer. So let's get on with the next topic. Next question, what is a generic pointer? A generic pointer is void star. That's a generic pointer. So that means it can point to any data type. If you declare a variable with void star, you can point it to an integer, character, float, double. You can point it to any data type. So that's the advantage of a generic pointer. Int star will point to integer, char star will point to a character. But a generic pointer which is void star can point to any data type. So next question, we have an integer x is 60 and a pointer pointing to that x. Now we are doing star ptr plus plus, which is post increment operator. Printf %d the value of x. Alright, so star ptr means it's the value. So now you can guess your answer. Okay, so if you have guessed the answer as 61, right, the value of x as 61, it is incorrect. So it is still 60. The reason being, when you do star ptr plus plus, the plus plus operator has a higher precedence than the dereference operator. So what happens is the ptr moves to the next location, and then a star of that doesn't have any meaning, but the ptr has moved on to the next location, right? It is no more pointing to x. Actually, the pointer is pointing to an invalid location, so it's no more a valid location. Now, that's what it means. But when you print x, still it is valid. X still carries the old element. It would not be incremented. Let's look at a second case here. int x is equal to 63, int star ptr equal to ampersand x. So and then you have within bracket star ptr, and then you're doing an increment. When you do within bracket a star ptr, it means the value pointed to by the pointer is incremented, right? So you are changing the precedence using the brackets operator. So you're changing the value, right? So value becomes 64 now. Let's move on to the next question. Int x is equal to 30 star y star z. Now you're making the y pointer, the integer pointer, point to x, and z is equal to y. That means both z and y are pointing to x. And you're making star y star z. So star z has the value of 30, and that gets assigned to star y, which basically is already a 30, so there is no change. You're doing a x plus plus, so x becomes 31. Now you print all the values, right? Given that y and z both are pointing to x, the answer would be, all three would be 31. So just to give you a brochure as to how the pointers work. Next question, integer array, right? Array is 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. These are the 5 values in the array. And your pointer is pointing to the third index of the array. So that is 21. It is pointing to 21. Now you are doing a star ptr is equal to 58. Right? So the third index is changed to 58. Now you are printing array of 2. What will be the answer? So array of 2 is still 20. There is no change made to that array. So still it will print 20. What is the format specified to print address of a variable? Usually I use %x, but %p is usually used for pointers. So now let's look at the next question. You have a character array which is having a value, this is it, and a character pointer which is pointing to the base address of the array, and now an integer pointer pointing to the base address of the array. So you're doing a pi++ and pc++. So what would be the answer when you print the strings? So you can pause the video, guess your answer. So let's assume that the size of int is 4 bytes and size of character is 1 byte. So now when it prints, what happens is when you do a pi++, even though it's pointing to the base address of a character array, it will jump by 4 elements, right? So that pi would jump from t to h, I, s, I, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it points to s, and pc is moving to the next location, which is h. So now when you print both the strings from there, so I, s space I, t will get printed for the integer pointer, right? Because it is pointing to that I, it jumped by 4 locations. So I, s space I, t gets printed for that pi from the pi string, and from the pc when you print a string, it is actually moved to from t to h. So h, I, s, I, s space I, t gets printed. That's why you get this answer. But key to understand this particular question is it's explaining about arithmetic, pointer arithmetic. So when there is an integer pointer, it jumps by 4 bytes or the size of it. When you do a plus plus, an integer pointer jumps by 4 bytes. A character pointer jumps by 1 byte. That's what this program is explaining to us. Next question. So here, this is a question we already discussed. I want you to guess the answer. Okay, so here it is called by, would it be called by reference? Yes, it is called by reference, but the challenge is within the function, we are not incrementing the value, we are incrementing the address, right? So we had a equal to a plus 1 instead of star a equal to star a plus 1. So what happens to the initial a? There is no change to that value. So this question would, even though the reference is passed and the pointer is passed, within the function we are not incrementing the value. Ideally, if we had done star a equal to star a plus 1 within the function, it would have incremented the value of a in the main function, right? A would have been 7. But what we have done is within the function, we have made the pointer point to the next location, which does not impact in any way the value of a. So that's why you don't see any impact. Let's move on. So here it is actually called by reference, right? So the star a we are incrementing by 2. So 9 would become 11. So that's the answer here. You can pause the video to understand this better. This is same as call by reference that we have discussed in earlier videos. Let's move on to the next one. You have a character array of pointers, and the first pointer is pointing to hello, second pointer is pointing to this, third pointer is pointing to is, fourth pointer is pointing to good. So now star a plus 1. So a plus 1, right? When you do a plus 1, a points to the second array, this. And then when you do a star, you get the first value which is being pointed there. So it would point to this, and when you do a star of that, you will get the t, the value t, which is the character there. So you can work it out. Let's do this in Python tutor to see how it works as well. So let's look at this question using Python tutor, right? The very first statement, the array of characters, right? So array of pointers that we have here, a character array of pointers. Let's see how it points. So the first pointer points to hello, second pointer points to this, third pointer points to is, fourth pointer points to good, right? So that's how it is initialized. Now if you look at it, we are having star a plus 1. Let's try to break it up first. This is a is pointing here. When you do a plus 1, it points to this, right? So this would be the location it will be pointing to. Now the first star would be the first dereference which points to this, right? This entire string, this. When you do a second dereference here, it points to the character t. So that's what gets printed in this particular output here. This is what we saw. So these kind of questions are very important. The dereferencing. So here if you look at it, effectively there is a double direction which is getting dereferenced one at a time. So these are the kind of questions which are usually asked in interviews, because someone who is very strong in pointers will be, there are not many students who are really good at pointers, right? So this one would definitely prove to the interviewer that you understand pointers really well. My request is to try a few more questions like this. You can write your own questions and then check the answers, run it on Python tutor to be really familiar with this area, especially the character pointer, character double pointers. Let's do one more question with the array of character pointers. So we have an array here. Hello, this is WS good, right? And we have a double pointer. That means a pointer to a pointer, and that pointer is pointing to a plus 2. And now you are printing the value after dereferencing it. So what would be the answer here? So if you look at it, I'll explain the answer. The answer would be W. But let's understand how that W came, right? We'll go to Python tutor and then see how it works. So let's look at this question. So now we are first initializing, right? So very similar to the last time. The first string, the first pointer, right, is pointing to hello, this WS good. So now PTR equal to a plus 2. So PTR is the pointer. This is a plus 1. This is a plus 2. So PTR equal to a plus 2 means PTR will point here. That means it's effectively pointing to WS. Let's do that. So what it really means, if you look at PTR, it's pointing to the second index of the array. What it effectively means is actually the PTR is having the same address as what this second pointer is having. So PTR is effectively pointing to this location. That's what it means. When you do a star PTR, it points to this entire string WS, right? And when you do a star PTR, it points to the first element within that. So that is W. So that's why you see a W here. Hope you got the answer. So if at all you had star PTR, let's do this, right? So I'll do a second reference. I'm going to do a plus 1, not the first reference. So this will be interesting, right? So let's do this visualization again. So I'm doing the dereference of the second element. So the first part, there is no change here. Now if you look at it, this pointer is pointing here to this location, right? And the first dereference would give you this WS. Then we are making it incremented by 1. So it points to S. And now if you print the value, it prints S. So why did it print S? PTR, which is this location, star PTR points to this entire string. That plus 1 instead of W, it is pointing to S now. And then you find the value of that here. So that is S. That's what you see here. Hope you understood this dereferencing, how it works. So let's look at the next question. Usually whenever you see questions like this, most of the students would drop it, right? But what companies expect is they want students who are able to attempt these questions. So let's attempt it. You will see that it's not that difficult, even though you see a lot of stars. Don't worry about it. So first is you have a static char, and it's a character array of pointers, which is having Bosch technology group, right? So this is the first one. Second is you have a double pointer array where S plus 1, S plus 2, S. That means basically you have 3 pointers. The first pointer is pointing to technology, second pointer is pointing to group, and the third pointer is pointing to boss. That's all it means. There is nothing complicated about it. And there is a triple pointer. Behind you have a star star and an array. So to make it point to that, you need a triple pointer. P equal to PTR, that means this pointer is pointing to this base address of this array. Plus plus P, that means that pointer will point to S plus 2. What does S plus 2 have? S plus 2 is nothing but group, correct? That's what we saw. This is S plus 1, S plus 2 is group. Now we are doing a star star P plus 2, that means P plus 2 would be from G, it will jump to R, it will jump to O, right? It will be pointing to O, and when you double dereference a pointer and print it, it's going to print as a string now. So OUP would be the answer for that. Let's see the answer. So to look at this question again, we'll go to Python tutor. Let's see this visualization so that you will understand better. So again, I'm saying it's not a difficult one. Once you understand pointers, once you get a hang of pointers, this is very simple. Let's look at this. So let's look at the question in Python tutor. So here you have this array. S of 0 has boss, S of 1 has technology, S of 2 has group. Now we are doing star star PTR. This is the double pointer character array that you have here. So this one, what we are doing is S plus 1 is the first one. So this pointer is going to point here. This pointer is going to point to S plus 2, which is this. This pointer is going to point to this, right? That's what it means. So you see here, yes, whatever we expected. The first is pointing to this, second is pointing to this, third is pointing to this. That's what is the statement here. P equal to PTR, that means this pointer is going to point to the base here. Yes, that has happened. Plus plus P, that means this pointer is going to point to the second element. Let's do that. If you look at it, the second element is pointing to this and this is pointing to this. So effectively it means this one has the address of this, right? Now we are doing P plus 2, which is from G, it goes to R, it goes to U. And you're doing a double dereference, right? It's a triple pointer. So when you point to a double dereference, it's going to point to this location. So and you print a string from here, it's going to print OUP. So you see that here. This is what it is. You can pause it, look at this question again. But pointers, once you get a hang of it, it is very simple. But what happens is when you look at 1,000 students, right? Probably 1 or 2 take the effort to understand this. That's the key part. And top companies need these students. So my request is, this is not really difficult at all. It is just that people perceive it to be difficult. So go through this, understand it again. If you want, you can replay this section. So let's look at the next question. You have an integer array which has 33, 38, 43, 48, 53. You have a character pointer. Remember, it's a character pointer which is pointing to this base address of the array plus 4. 4 bytes is what it will increment because it's a character pointer. If it was an integer pointer, it should have jumped to 4 different indices. But here it's a character pointer, so it jumps by 4 bytes, which is the next location, right? So this is the second integer's location. So it will point to the address of wherever 38 is. Now if you are doing PTR plus equal to 4, it will jump by another 4, so it will point to 43. Now if you are printing %d star PTR, it will print 43, right? So if you didn't understand this, right, character pointer jumps by, when you do an increment, it jumps by 1 byte. When you do an increment of an integer pointer, it jumps by 4 bytes. Here it's a character pointer, it jumps by 1 byte. Now given that you have made it point jump by 4, it has moved to the next integer. That's the reason why you see this answer. Next question. So we have an integer array which has 29 and 31 and we are passing that array to a function. Within the function we are changing the value, we are incrementing the value by 1. Now what is the value of array of 0? So remember, whenever you pass an array to a function, it is called by reference because the address of the base address of the array is what is getting passed. So any changes you make within the array will be reflecting in the main function. So you have function of a, so the base address is passed. The value in the base address is incremented by 1. So this 29 has become 30. Now when you print the value, it will be 30. Next question. How many bytes are occupied by near, far and huge pointers? Now these are not very popular in Unix or the latest environments. These used to be popular during the DOS days. But just understand it for now, right? Near pointer means it is 2 bytes. Far pointer means 4 bytes, right? Or huge pointer means still it is 4 bytes. That's from the original. Nowadays these near and far pointers are not used. Just in case you see that in a question, you need to know what it is. So again one more, again a character array. Hello, this is good, and you are doing a star of a plus 1. Straightforward, I want you to guess this. Hello and a plus 1 would point to this, and when you print the value there, it is going to print the HIS. Next question. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are 5 elements in the array. Star of a plus 3, right? So usually use it for pointers. But note that an array is a static pointer. I mean, the base address of an array is a static pointer. Just in case you are not aware of it, array's base address a is actually a pointer. The only thing is you cannot change the pointer. You cannot move it to a different location, right? So when you do a star of a plus 3, it looks at 0, 1, 2, 3. It takes that index, and from that index, right, which is actually index 4, the value 4, and it prints that value. Similarly, right, you can have an array and you can make a pointer point to that, and you can use the array notation ptr of 2, which is nothing but star of ptr plus 2. There is no difference. So here you have an array with 5 elements, you have an integer pointer, and the pointer is pointing to the base address of the array. When you do ptr of 2, right, you can do it, right? So it is same as star of ptr plus 2. So the answer is 3, because when you do ptr plus 2, it points to the third element. Next question. You have boss technology group again, char star s is equal to boss technology group, and you're doing printf fun of str, and str, what is str? Str is pointing to the base address of the array. So you're passing the base address and you're assigning it to str2. Right now when you do while star str1 plus plus, that moves, right? That pointer moves and there is a semicolon there. So it moves till the end of the array. So when you look at it, this is a question to find the length of a string. It might be surprising to know what this function is doing. It is to find the length of a string. So what happens is that while star str plus plus, what it does is it checks till the null character, right? So it runs from the start. It runs all the way till the end of the string, and when it sees the null character, it comes out of the loop. Now when you subtract the both the pointers, right, the initial pointer minus the final pointer, you get the length of the string. So that's what you are seeing here. So that fun is actually representing string length function, right? That's what it represents. Going on to the next question, we will look at array of pointers here. So this is the reference for array of pointers in star ptr of 5. That means it has an array. There are 5 elements in the array and each one is an integer pointer. That's what array of pointers mean. And we have made it point to 5 different integers. And when you put a star of ptr of 2, ptr of 2 is pointing to c. C has a value 2, so that gets printed. Very simple question, but you need to understand the syntax. This is the syntax for array of pointers. Now we are looking at pointer to an array. So pointer to an array, what does it really mean? In star ptr of 5, what does it really mean? It means that pointer can point to an array which has 5 elements. That's what it means. It cannot point to a pointer array which has 3 elements. It cannot point to an array which has 6 elements. That array has to have 5 elements. So then we have an array, right? We have an array which has 2 rows. The first row is 5 elements, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the second row has 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So now that PTR, you can make it point to array of 0. That means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is 5 elements. You're making that pointer point to that element. And when you print star of PTR of 0, you get the value 0 because that is the first element. Now you do PTR plus plus. That means it will jump by 5 elements. And then you print star of PTR of 0. So let's look at this in Python tutor because we are discussing pointer to an array probably only once. So we will look at this question in Python tutor and try to understand this. So let's look at the question here. We have pointer to an array. That means this is a pointer which can point to an array of 5 integers. That's what it means. So first we have an array, one array which has 2 rows, each having 5 elements. So first we are making it point to the first row, right? So that means it's pointing to these 5 elements which are here. Now you are printing PTR of 0, so which is 0. That's the value which gets printed on the screen. Now if you do PTR plus plus, this pointer knows that this array has 5 elements. So it skips 5 elements and then it jumps to the second row. So it points directly here. This is the advantage of pointer to an array. That means it knows the number of elements. It jumps automatically to the second row. Now if you print PTR of 0, it's going to print 5. That's how you got 0 and 5 as answers. So again, this is the only question we are going to discuss on pointer to an array. You can understand the syntax from here. This is again a very important one. Usually you get asked a question, what is the difference between array of pointers and pointer to an array? This section should help you understand that. So we did not discuss structure pointers. Let's close this section with one question on structure pointers. So I have a structure here which has 3 elements. One is integer I, character j, and I have an integer pointer as well within the structure. So now this is not called structure pointer, but this is structure pointer for you, right? Struct tag star sptr. This is structure pointer. And I have a structure element p here, which is a normal variable for a structure. So I am making this pointer point to that variable p. Now sptr of ptr, which is actually this, is equal to sptr of I. That means I am making this pointer point to the first element in that same structure. And I am setting that value to 8. Now if I am printing printf percentages sptr of ptr, it will actually print the address of I. When I print star sptr of ptr, it will point to the value pointed to by this address, which is the value in I, which is 8. So the first answer would be address, second would be 8. That's what you're seeing here. This is the address of I, this is the value of I. Again, you can pause this and you can look at this. The tricky part was this pointer, which is actually within the structure itself. So that's why it might have tricked you a bit. But this is again from an actual interview that we have taken this question. So this effectively summarizes the questions that we wanted to discuss on pointers. Pointers is an area which is very popular, right, in your interviews. I want you to probably go through this video again to make sure that you understand all the questions and are able to confidently answer the question and also answer the reason why a particular answer is coming through, right? So you should be able to understand the concept really well. That's what is really the intent of this one. Thank you all for joining for this section. If you have any comments or any questions, if you want me to add any details for any particular topic, or pointer is a vast area. So if at all you had any other topic that you want me to add to this video, I'll be glad to add it. Add your comments here. Hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you.